You doing good?
I'm doing all right. This is exciting.
I know.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, we like summoned. I'm telling you, it was the army of the Brents, and next thing we know, we found ourselves with the drop game again. Wow, who knew? Who knew?
Who knew?
Wow,
Yeah.
this is very exciting. How's it going, Alex? How's it going?
It's going well. I'm a little distracted for the moment. I'm getting some echo, and I know how to fix it. And I think I
Okay.
just fixed it. Sweet. On my problem. My fault. My bad. I'm doing good. We're just hanging in there. I feel like October is a rough month. I don't think it's like it just happens to be for us. We got Bianca and I will be traveling to New York next week. So if any of our viewers are in New York, come join us at Transform. We're running a little the program Bianca and I run is called, besides this, because honestly this is their real baby. But like the other program we run is called Twilio Builder Labs, and we're doing one live in person. We were really close to selling out MSG, but we moved to a different location, to be with Twilio, of course. But we're going to be live for Twilio Builder Labs, and that's next week in New York on Tuesday. So super excited about that. And and then we've got more events coming later in the month. So it's going to be a lot of stuff happening this month, but we're super excited about it.
Okay, this is good. All good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, October definitely lots of activity. Very grateful. Also, if we have any folks that like watch that have family dealing with the all the weather events that have been happening, sending you all good positive vibes. It's been a little wild here in the Florida. You have some stuff hit Georgia a little bit, but yeah, definitely,
Hmm.
whenever weather gets crazy, it's always not so great. I think what's been also interesting though to see is just like the creativity from folks too, even in the midst of that. And I think that
Yeah.
reminder of how like resilient we are as people, when life happens and just like communities banding together. So yeah, I thought that was definitely beautiful to see.
Yeah, you were in Atlanta,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like you got some of it, but you didn't get
yeah,
the brunt of it. So yeah,
yeah. No,
definitely thoughts with the people who did, but
yeah, no. It's so wild because you don't realize how much like that communication matters. So
mhm.
like even just kind of it was so interesting, like our power folks being like, hey, heads up, here are all the things that are happening. The amount of emails I got, the amount of text messages, I actually felt like getting so much communications beforehand helped just even kind of figure out like what's happening. So I feel like, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to see all the things come together. But let's see. What else is on the mind? We were salad twins today.
Yeah, we both had salads going into this. Bianca and
We
I,
did.
in
We
preparation, we typically eat a little lunch together.
just it's our team effort. But yeah, so first and foremost, excited to see the crew all together
Yeah, welcome back,
today.
Robertables. Good to see you, RJ. Yeah,
Yay! Yes. So okay, so today,
Exceldro,
Excel.
welcome.
Hi, welcome. So today we are okay. We're talking about like personalization, right? We're talking about AI, but we're narrowing it down on like personalization. But we are making this a group conversation because why not? We're on stream.
Yeah,
So y'all get to join us for all our adventures. We also have a special guest. I,
yes,
do,
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
later. But yeah, I think I'm just excited. I don't know if y'all heard about this thing called like AI assistants, but where it got out of developer preview. So
Yeah.
it is open and available. But we'll have a special guest, just kind of talking a bit more about that, and just kind of like the dev AI connection. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Mhm.
And then Alex has some show and tell later. But yeah, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off
Sweet.
uh, in dialogue. So I think even before we talk, also curious, chat, like when you think about like developers and AI. Like what comes to mind for y'all? So like when you think about developers, AI, personalization, like what does that even mean, right? So just kind of curious about like what comes to mind. So chat, please let us know. But yeah, Alex, when we think about that, like
Yeah.
what does that mean to you?
Well, I think like when we think about AI and personalization, it's the first thing that comes to me is honestly not a good one, which is like the like very super targeted ads that you get to like on like Instagram or social media and something. Cause like that's an algorithm, right? There's something going on there that's AI, and it almost feels like it's hyper personalized. And I've seen some of the stuff about the ways they do that. I don't think anyone's actually listening to you, but they are like knowing who you're hanging out with, which is a whole nother thing. And so that's the kind of stuff that like you think about. But I think that when we talk about personalization here at Twilio, it's a little bit different. It's more about those like super awesome, amazing customer experiences. This is the most bizarre example that I've thought of, but this summer, my family took a trip to Europe. We went to Florence, and there's a place that made these really cool custom shoes. And I'm like, I'm in Italy. Maybe I'll see if I should get a pair of custom shoes. Why not? And there's like 3 or 4 dudes just like in leather working gear just in there. I'm like, hey, how much does this cost? And they said, well, for starters, we need to make a wooden blank of your shoe, and that costs €1,000. So, and then, you know, it depends on the shoe, but probably about that much again. I was like, okay, I don't need a $2,000 shoe. So I'm going to skip that. But it was that whole idea that like, that's how much effort they put into personalizing these shoes. Like they literally have a wooden blank of your foot. And then from then on, they'll just make you shoes. Like that was super cool. But like, what are the smaller examples of that we have? Like when you call an airline and they're like, oh, are you calling about the ticket that you just had? Hey, we see that like you're in a middle seat and usually like window seats. Would you rather us switch you? Like there's certain things that I think some of these brands are going to start to do that use AI in the background without us even knowing it. Because I think that like the chatbots are cool and they're fun and I like using them too, but it's really the stuff in the background where it's like we don't even realize that something's happening. We just have this amazing experience that's going to really turn the tide on how AI is helping people. So I think a little bit more kind of on that ground of like,
Gotcha.
How can you know more about me? How can you do it? Yeah, I loved the coolest I think was the demo that I did for the last like it was almost a year ago now. It was over a year ago now for the barn burner. And like, you know, we had this demo set up where like I'm like, hey, what should I build with all these components I have? And it knew what I bought and it could suggest something to me, like stuff like that. Just like a little bit more knowledge about you. I think that's going to be really cool.
No, that's super real. I also loved like when we were looking at the Twilio bot was like, let's make every interaction feel tailor-made.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like even just that reminder of like when it is tailor-made, whether it is to a conversation, some context, and then the chef of the Brents was like, it's in the title. And I was like, oh, well, at least it listened to the title. So I was like, that's, you know, that was like a nice touch. Let's see what chat has told us.
Robertables is using it for D&D mostly, which is awesome. I love that. We heard another one about, I forget. Oh, we were like interviewing and someone had this awesome thing where they created a whole like remote D&D game, but like basically there'd be like roles. I don't know if it was like async or what, but there was like roles and they would like send text messages based on those roles. It was like a whole thing, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. So there's some fun D&D stuff. I think because D&D is like a game and it's so much creativity in there and it's so unstructured, it's actually a great place to start with some of the AI stuff because like it's not like you can, you know, save the stat the same way as you know, some other games that are a little more structured. Like anything can happen, you know, no idea what's going on. So I love that you're using it for D&D. Vertibles, let me know if you need a player. Maybe I'll come join your table virtually. I don't know where you live, and I was like, Denver.
I was like, Alex, you're not helping the personalization talk of like, yeah, I'll come to your table and join you for this game. I was like, you know.
A lot of people are playing virtually now. It's
That's
possible.
good. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay. No, yeah. So one thing I'm curious about too, though, is like, okay, we have this like personalization bubble, but like, if we were to think about like what are the buckets, right? Like, if we were to really ask ourselves, like, what are the different kind of buckets of folks? Like, how are we thinking about that, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you, yeah.
You're thinking about like the different buckets of folks like using or like trying to figure out how to get AI into
or
things.
or even thinking about or even thinking about like personalization, right? Like you might have, I'm trying to think, you might have the person that's like, I don't know what this is, right? And then you might have the person that's like, yay, AI, but also how does this connect to the business? And then you have like, then you have like maybe the curious, and I'm just kind of curious, like, okay, for those different audience groups, because the reason why I asked this, which is like, okay, well, we'll get to that question in a few. I think the reason why I asked this, which is like, whenever you introduce a new topic within something, right? So say we have personalization. I think if we don't know like where people are coming from, it's like, how do you even create that journey? So I think it would be just like interesting to just kind of see, where do we think the majority of people are actually at when you're introducing these kind of AI, personalization, omni-channel, right? So yeah.
One of my favorite paradigms is the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know, I think a lot of people have heard about this. It's the idea that like, as you start to learn something, you think you know a lot. And then as you learn more, the amount you think you know just like plummets. Like you think you're like, oh, I don't know anything. And then it slowly curves back up. So I think there's that, and I live in that valley. I don't, but anyways, I think there's a lot of people who are in that like that place of knowing just enough to be like dangerous and thinking they really understand what's going on. And so and not to say that that's like, there's anything wrong with that. Like, it's part of the journey. It's part of the process. We all like think we understand it. And then we like, kind of get truly illuminated to what's going on. And I think that there, if you look at the people thinking about AI, there's probably a lot of people at like higher, more executive, managerial levels, like in that spot where they're like, oh, we can just use AI for this. Oh, I saw so-and-so has a chatbot. Let's have a chatbot. Like there's just a lot of like that, like hype of like, can we get AI into things? Like how can we just like throw AI at it? And so I think like, first of all, there's that hype of like creating a chatbot and like, but then it goes down to like actually implementing it. And like, that's a whole nother persona of like, it's one thing to be able to like have ChatGPT and use it for like content creation or things like that. It's a whole nother to like get it integrated into a stack where you're like actively using it and you trust it to like do some process, which they're so different. So I really think there's like a full range of like, the crazy thing about AI is it's not like, with some of these APIs, they were a little bit unusable by most people until something like Zapier came around and gave you like a GUI for APIs. With AI, it kind of started as this thing where there are some ways to do it without coding. I've heard people who like throw all their blog posts into context with ChatGPT and then ask it to write them the next one. So some of that stuff is there and you don't need to be overly technical to use it. And that's kind of the thing that's been strange about this particular tech innovation in my mind is like almost anybody can just like start going. So it's definitely like I think that, that creates amazing adoption and also like, how sustainable is some of that stuff. But yeah, I think you have all the way from the personas of like, who's like deciding if we're going to implement this to like the people actually on the ground coding. I think, early days, people are really excited about LangChain. People are still using LangChain. It's super cool. But there's so many different platforms and things, and like the models do something different every day, and it's wild how much people can do. So it's like, the amount that you're building this stuff in is just dependent on who you are. And I think like the cool place is not the cool place. The place I appreciate is and our chief product officer here at Twilio, Imbal, said this too, which is like, she doesn't want it to be like Twilio has all these AI products as much as there's AI sprinkled in a way that just makes it so delightful. It doesn't even matter if it's AI. So I think there's that whole thing. But yeah, what do you is that what you were looking for with personas, or do you want me to be more specific?
No, you're good. We're gonna make a visual in a few. So I took some notes. We're gonna make a visual. So Robertables asked, when it comes to personalization, how much is too much? How little is too little? See, that I think that's where a lot of the drama lied, right? Which is that, folks do not want to feel like, hey, you are all in my business. You're anticipating a little too much. I do think going back into like, the reason why conversational AI, I feel like so many people like it, is like it still is mirroring a human interaction, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about like, how would you talk, right? Like even a parent who knows a lot about you is not telling you like, here are all the facts I know about you every time they talk to you, right? Like they're not incorporated like, hey, and I know you like this thing here, and this is your favorite meal, right? Like don't make personalization awkward, And I think it's like, how are you feeling empowered with the knowledge, data, and insight to the point that it's still like helpful, right?
Yeah.
So I know like that's what comes up to me, which is like when we're creating new habits and new behaviors around personalization, instead of personalization kind of like augmenting what we're doing, then I feel like that tends to be like too much.
Yeah. It's like how prescriptive is it? Like how like forward thinking. Now, I kind of think to my one of my first jobs I worked, it was like a smaller company that I was working for, but I worked directly for the CEO and the COO, and they had an executive assistant, and seeing how she worked and like the things that she like, if they were like, hey, I need reservation. I'm going to be in New York next week. I need a reservation for dinner. She could kind of just figure that out, right? She generally knew how to figure out like what restaurants they might like. She might ask them anything specific or just like go pick one. And like, it was kind of like those interactions. It's like, I want to be able to either like be really specific about something or be not specific and know that it's going to be okay. And I think that there's, it's not like a hard and fast rule. Like, I don't know how much is too much or too little. But like, I think on the too little side, it's easy. It's like, how much do I have to, like, if I just say, hey, book me a flight, and then like, maybe I just want to see some options and then be like, okay, great, give me that second one. But like, I don't want to have to like, as opposed to like going through the whole process of like, okay, here's all the flights, here's the different prices, here's the times. Like it's how few steps can I take for the things that I don't really want to deal with is the too little part. And then I think that too much, it's like, how prescriptive is it? Like, I still want to know that I'm in control, and I still want to know that like I'm not totally being controlled by the AI trying to help me with stuff. So it's like, it's a weird balance though. And I think I honestly think it's going to change. I think it's something that's going to change over time as we get more used to these things. Yeah. I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts in the chat. Love to hear them. That's my thought.
The other thing too, do we have another question? Okay. No, we didn't. Chef Brent was like, privacy feels like an illusion. Okay.
To some extent it is. I mean, it's hard because I feel like we all like want privacy, but then also like want all the benefits of not having privacy. Yeah.
It's tough to think about. Like, can it benefit me? But I think my thing is just like, is it progressively getting better? Right? Like, I want to feel like, also I like assume that someone is using the data that they have about me well, right? So like, even today I had like a dental thing. I was just like, hey, I've been here before. You have information on my chart. And me and the person, we had a little bit of a back and forth because I was like, I don't have this data. You have the context, and I kind of need you to like weave into the context on how you're going to make a decision. So I think even this aspect around like, as a company, if you have all this data and you're doing nothing with it, I don't know. I think maybe
Yeah.
that to me is just like, that's like the baseline. That's too little, right? Like when you get to a point where it's like, we just collect your data, but we don't do anything with it. We don't even try and help you out. So,
yeah, medical's the weirdest one for me because it's hard to move. And so like everybody seems like they're starting from zero, which is hard. RJ Pearson had a good comment here that I'm gonna bring up, which is interesting thing about agent experience too. You don't want to overwhelm agents. So I assume what this is I think that some of the best ways that personalization can be done right now is behind the scenes when you interact with another human. So like, you know, if somebody's like, if I'm doing office hours even with like a customer or like a startup, it'd be so cool. And we have some of this starting to happen. If like it would pull up their account and tell me how much they're using and what products they're using, and then be like, hey, based on this is some of the stuff we think they might find useful, and feed me some info as the agent helping, so that that person can be there. And I think that that's one of the ways that this stuff's going to show up first and foremost, because there's still the human filter, and it's just making your human agents even better. But yeah, how do you make sure you're not overwhelming them, right? It's a whole nother set of training to not just be like, hey, we're training you to solve these problems. We're also training you to like read this data and understand more about this person based on these like snippets that AI is giving you. So think about that experience too. I think that you know, who is the user at the end of the day of the AI is really important.
Okay, we got another question comment from RJ.
Sweet. Let's do it.
All right, how does AI? RJ, you don't talk like that. That was my stream voice.
RJ, you're British, right?
Yeah. How does
do it, Bianca?
It's like it's like how I can't do it because I'm laughing too much. But anyways, okay. How does AI and personalization, this is my reporter voice, how does AI and personalization change how we think about testing? Going from deterministic systems to non-deterministic systems, how do you validate whether a change is working better or worse?
That is the question. I don't know. I think that's the hard part about all of this. Like, no, it is, because like we trust that at some point something's gonna work or it's not because you write the code. Honestly, one of the first times I experienced this was working with Twilio, because like at the end of the day, I can send a message, but how do I know that the message has been delivered? Well, it turns out I don't always know if an SMS has been delivered. Like, yeah, Twilio will tell me a lot of times based on carriers, things like that, but it's like there's only so much you can do, and then you can hope that you get the action that you want, because like with Twilio's case, it's like there's carriers, and then is the person in range or out of range, and do they have their cell phone turned on? Is it on do not disturb? There's so much weird stuff. So, but like when things are non-deterministic, I don't know how you test. And there's probably someone who's going to figure out to like test AI with AI, where you're just running things. I don't even know, but like that is the big question. And I think that's going to be one of the things keeping AI out of some super mission critical systems, which goes back to the whole agent thing, right? If you're exposing it to your agents and not your customers, then you have a buffer layer, right? If your agent might say something wrong, the customer's like, wait, that's not me. And they're like, oh, okay, wait, they have a way to figure it out. But if you like, you know, wouldn't it suck if you're like, your AI is arguing with you about who you are, like some AI helper? Like that would be annoying.
Alex, that sounds scary. I don't want my AI arguing. I don't want AI arguing with me. It's just not fun.
Of course it's gonna argue. Yeah, well, you don't want a good argument?
No. It doesn't sound like the future I want, man. Oh gosh, yeah. Sorry. The visual just in my brain, it's like, no, it's me. It's me. And they're like, no, it's not you. Enthusiastically opinionated. Wow. The bot is using new language.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Alex. You know, when we had tools like, actually, even before we go there, one thing that comes up, which is this view around simplifying. One thing that brought this up for me was just like, when we think about personalization, it's this big thing, right? But I think about like OG Twilio energy. And I had shared something with Alex. Alex, if you, when you get a moment. Really thinking about like, in essence, what are we trying to do, right? And one of the things that came up, which is like this aspect of like making something very complicated very simple. And it's like if we focus so much on personalization, we kind of miss out on like OG Twilio energy. Oh gosh, maybe you are old. In Twilio years, not as a human. Maturity. That's what we call it. First they called you dad, then we're calling you old. I'm sorry. It's just I don't know. Between the bot and okay, this is not me. See, maybe it wasn't even me that said this. But back to the thought at hand, which
Brett,
is
I'll just give you a preview. When we go OG, it's before you. So we're going.
Yeah. There. Yeah. OG before or OB. Oh, before Brent. Okay, never mind.
BB before OBB
before Brent.
Or OGBB or OG before Brent.
Yes, OG BB. Okay, great. Fantastic. So thinking back to OG BB, one thing that came up is this aspect of simplicity. And what sparked it was I was thinking about like investment memos, because that's what you do on Mondays. That's true. It's what you do on a Monday. But yes, okay.
You're wondering how Bianca spends her Monday. It's reading a casual investment memo from maybe one from 2009. Yeah.
Wow. Do you still happen to have one, Alex?
I do.
Were you still reading? Were you reading that too?
I have that memo right here.
Golly gee. Okay, yeah. So OGBB. One thing that sticks out is not the investment size, but no. This is kind of interesting because it's like
the date's fun.
Yes,
2009, 15 years ago.
Oh my gosh, that was a long time. I was like a long time ago. Okay.
I was I'll age myself. I was when this was happening.
Okay.
I had just graduated college and was working at my first job.
Oh, okay. A woman never tells her age. So I was floating in the world. I was alive. I was fine. I was great. But yes, I think about this investment memo. One of the things that comes up, which is like the Twilio product makes the process of building a voice application extremely simple for web developers without any specialized training or need to deal with telecom companies or specialized integration service providers. And I think this aspect of just like at its core, simplicity. And like we can talk about these things like personalization all we want, but it's like, are you a personalization enthusiast? Probably not. And I don't know that that's what we want for you. Like we're not trying to create a group of personalization enthusiasts, but folks who do feel empowered with technology to kind of do what they need to do. So then you can become an enthusiast of whatever is exciting to you. Definitely chat. Let us know what's exciting to you, unless you want to be a personalization enthusiast. But I don't know, what sticks out for you when you think about this concept of like the complex to the more simple.
Yeah. I love this framing because like I just want things to be easy. Like I don't like somebody else, like there's certain hard problems that I'm hoping other people figure out. Like look, I used to work in data centers. Data centers are a hard spot. Building out your own data center is rough. There's a lot that goes into it. All of a sudden you don't need to do that because Amazon did that for you, right? With AWS. So it's like, what are the hard problems so you can really focus on whatever the problem that you're trying to solve is? And it's there. And so that's what I looked at. There's one other thing, just a quick break, that I really want to highlight, which is one of the best things that they liked about Twilio was TWIML, the 5 core verbs architected to emulate XML. TWIML. I love it. But anyways, I think just like we shouldn't have to focus on every little bit of the business, right? Like I remember at my last company, like there were people who were basically like not able to program robots because they were too busy worrying about CI. And like there was probably some stuff we could have done for CI to make it easier. And there's people always trying to make CI easier. CI being continuous integration. Most people on stream, I think, have heard of that. But like CI can suck and it can take up a lot of time. And sometimes you need a full-time person to like manage that. And like that was taking away from our ability to just like build cool stuff with robots because we had to make sure that it was working and do all that stuff. And like, when you get bigger, maybe you have a team and then it shifts and things like that. But like the more things that you can offload, I think like sometimes we get so scrappy with, especially in like startup land where we come from, where it's like, we gotta like do it all ourselves, blah, blah, blah. But like the more things you can offload, the more you can focus on your business. And I think that that's really important.
It's so, I love that. Like what comes to mind though is just like, I think sometimes, folks think like talking about the business means that you're spending more time. Like we can't ignore business. So, like it's a part of the conversation, but I do think like being able to not be so consumed with it, but just being able to tend to other parts. So I don't know. I really like that aspect of just like, you don't have to be consumed with every part of the business. You don't need to be an expert. Like we can be experts with you. I'm not crying about personalization. I just don't know what happened.
I get emotional about personalization. I get it.
I know. I don't know what happened to my eyes. I was like, oh gosh, tears about personalization. Awkward. No, yeah, but that does come to mind. Okay, so simplification. I am curious, Alex, when AI assistants came out, you were dabbling and kind of playing around with that. If you were to revisit, I would love for us to revisit or dust off, just dust off.
I have an interesting relationship with AI assistants because there was a point in time where it existed on 4 computers at Twilio, one of which was mine. And that's because we used what we had some like weird code name for it. I think it was called Chuck. I don't know why before, but we used this thing called with the precursor to AI assistants we used in the barn burner that I ran a year ago at Signal. I got to do karaoke with Jeff Lawson and 2 robots. That should be my fun fact all the time. I've done karaoke with a CEO of a publicly traded company and 2 robots. So anyways, it's so like I saw it back then, and to see where it's come now, it's so exciting. And again, I'm Dunning-Kruger. I'm like, I know I don't know much, and I just like, so when all this AI stuff was starting a year ago, people were building stuff with LangChain and all this stuff, and like I was like, oh man, a whole nother framework. I wasn't super excited about it. I know. That's so real. I was super pumped to see AI assistants. I'm gonna make it a little bigger just so everyone can see. And it did a lot of the stuff for me that I didn't always want to do. And so I'll show some of that in a second. But we did a hackathon earlier this year, and I had a ton of fun building with it. And it was one of those things where like I like set aside, I think like 2 days to build something, and like 3 hours in, I was like, I think I'm done. It was like I could have spent the rest of the time doing like one small, tiny little technical thing. I think it was like integrating Calendly's webhook system, which like is kind of a pain. And I was like, I don't need that. But like literally in like a few hours, I had this thing. I wonder if it has all my assistants on here. I don't even know which account I have assistants on. So
no, I kind of like that emphasis on like simplest, like quick. It was very, quick, speedy. Okay, so as you're maneuvering through, like what's speaking to you? What do you like? Are you seeing some cool buttons?
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate this. Just straight up. Welcome, Alex. They know me. They should know me.
I would hope that something focused on personalization would at least know your. Yeah. It would know your name. It's a great introduction. It's a good start.
Let's just let's see, what should we call the assistant? It's called Stream Friends.
Stream Friends, yeah.
Cool. Don't know what it's gonna do. Probably not gonna do anything. So I like that it walks you through. I'm gonna just kill this thing though, because I'll walk through it here. But it was super easy to just like create and spin up, and like all of a sudden you're connected to, whatever. There's different models and things like that. Company or team, the like personality prompt, which is kind of like the system prompt that you use. Amazing how much like little tweaks to this can matter. remember seeing one thing about somebody found like in the code the prompts for Apple's, like the prompts that Apple was using for some of their AI stuff, and there was misspelling and bad grammar and all this stuff. And someone was like, either they didn't put a lot of time and energy into this, or these weird prompts gave the best results. I was like, that's so weird. Prompting
Awkward.
like, this stuff's easy. Like I can go ahead and create the same thing in kind of OpenAI land and do that too. It's when you get into the tools and the knowledge and then eventually the channels that things start to like be different. I'm gonna go to knowledge first. So this is the cool thing about knowledge. Look, you can go ahead and create a vector database. Like I've seen people do it. I haven't done it myself, again, because I'm a little bit lazy and didn't want to learn how. But like this will just kind of do it for you. So you can put in vector database if you already have one and something like Pinecone, or you can just like give it a website and it'll scrape either no links or one link deep. It'll scrape it. You can have it auto update if you want, and you can tell it like when to use that knowledge. So I think we have I forgot, there's one built in that's just like hidden, that's like has all the knowledge of Twilio there, but that's a cool one. But there's, so if you want to like, whatever you're wanting to be an expert on, you can go ahead and pull the web page of that thing and it's just there. Like you don't have to. So like the demo that I did was pretending that we were like running an electronics store, or I was a consumer at an electronics store and we were trying to help them do better. And like in this case, I would just put in the like, I think I was using like the like Arduino Adafruit tutorials. And so like it was like you would just scrape those tutorials and you would just like have them in there. Now scraping's a whole thing. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. Hopefully you're getting permission before you're using this stuff. But it could even be one of your own websites, right? Like you could have it pull in one of your own websites, or like a file upload. Like I've done it where I've like shared a PDF and it like can read the PDF and have that context. We did a demo one time where we had it like reading somebody's out of office doc and then responding based on that. So just how easy it was to pull info into this system was like the first thing that I noticed. It's like so easy to like know about something and get it in there without a ton of energy of like creating your own vector database and making sure it's up to date and all that stuff. That was the first one.
Okay.
Craziest one is tools. This is like APIs, and you can literally tell it to go and use different APIs. Now, be careful because APIs can be a little bit like troublesome. You want to make sure that you're. I think that one of the main the guy running product for this, Dom. We need to have Dom on stream.
We do. We say that every week.
Dom's like the coolest.
That's true.
The way Dom described it is like, think of your AI as like a toddler, and like, look, all through my kitchen, half the cabinets I have little safety locks on, so my toddler like can't get a knife or can't get like a bunch of glass stuff. But I don't care if they start playing with my cutting boards or my mixing bowls, right? Those are fine. So it's like choosing where and how. Think of it a little bit like a toddler, but you can literally just like give it a URL and it kind of like explain the data schema, and then it'll just figure out how to use it. And it was like wild how accurate this was. Let's see, in the demo that we were doing, we used this to like, I think it was like figuring out what products we were using or something like that, or what products I'd bought. So like that was like, this is like the really powerful one, right? Like you can kind of give it all these tools, or like you can give it like the Google Maps API and be like, hey, if somebody needs to know how to get to this spot, go like give them the Google Maps API and like let them and like pull the data and then share it with them. And like it'll add it all as context into the AI, which is super cool. So like this was the one that I was like, this is wild. Like how easy it is to add in APIs and like give this access to data or let it save things or whatever it is. And then there's channels, right? This is the bread and butter of Twilio, right? It's, can you get it into sending messages, sending emails, whatever it is, like how can you just like quickly incorporate it into your applications? And there's tutorials to do that here, which is super easy. And so like in the demo I did, the channel that we were using was a giant talking robot. And like, it was just wild that like, it
just
wasn't
pushing it to the limits so early.
Pushing it to the limits, right? And that was
You
super
know?
cool. And then
Some-
the other thing on this, which there's this idea of customer memory, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that with our special guest, but this is like incorporating segment. This is where things get personal, right? Not just like AI personal and that like it knows about your business, but like you can have it know about your customer too. Whatever info you have, you can share and have it surface, and you can both have it like pull info out to like learn about, to like, so the AI has context for the customer, and you can have it put info back in. And so we have both sides of that, the personalization and perception engines. And so like seeing how crazy that was, like, you know, a few things like in my example with when we were doing the electronics one, it was literally like we gave it access to the things that I had just purchased. And so based on that, it was able to be like, hey, you can build these things. And then I was like, oh, I want to build that. What am I missing? And it knew what I had, and it knew like what the catalog was, and was just able to be like, oh, you need this. Kind of like the, I feel like I heard this thing somewhere where it's like, you go into Home Depot and you just like start talking to somebody and you're like, hey, here's the project I'm working on. And they're like, oh, you're going to need this stuff. They're like, oh, I already have that. But like, what else can I do? Or like, you know, it's a little bit of that. Like, how can you create that magic? But like, make it a little more automated.
That was actually one of my like favorite parts of the barn burner, which was it being like, you being like, hey, which was it being like, hey, I noticed you already have these things because you purchased them already. And I think even that aspect of just like, how are you creating value? Sometimes value is like, are you saving me time? Are you making sure that like I'm making the most of what I've already purchased? So I think about like, okay, all my like grocery receipts, maybe it's like, hey, actually you have that outfit for that event. You do not need to go back to the store. It is,
but you want to.
I do, maybe I'll make up like a new event to go to, but I do think even just being able to use that context to help you make better decisions, like we're making decisions day in and day out. But yeah, I don't know, that aspect of collaboration. So it's kind of cool to see like, just even the evolution of the tool. That's pretty exciting.
It's so much. I'm somebody who like, I'll write code. Like you guys have seen me code on stream. I like it. I'm definitely like a little bit of a low code person. The thing that is the most intimidating to me about coding is like setting up a whole environment, which I know has been a lot of automated stuff, but like, I just remember back to like grad school trying to like set up like my robotics ROS environments and spending like days beating my head against the wall because I was doing something a little bit wrong. You had to like install one thing before another, and I was doing it out of order, and then I broke stuff because I like didn't know, and I had to like hard system reset everything. So like it's always been the bane for me of like getting the underlying thing set up. Like I can code if somebody's like, put your code here. And the thing I love about low code environments is it does that for you. And this is probably even lower code than I'm normally used to. Like I'm happy to write a little bit more code, but you still need to like understand how like an API works to do that. So, and then this can also start to integrate with like, I can write my own APIs, right? I can write a Twilio function that does something very programmatically that I can then give access for the AI to do it with. So like, there's these tools where I can like extend it and build a little bit more and build further and so on that kind of let me do that. And so that's what I love. I love the low code stuff because it's just like I can just get to the coding. I don't need to worry about all the other stuff. And this does that for AI in a way that like, yeah, there's some open AI tools that do, but I just like it does it really well. No,
that's real. Okay. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Good to know. Just wanted to make sure. I was like, do we have friends yet?
No, it's just us. I mean, we have friends, I hope. Hi, Chat, are you our friend?
Are you listening? We're not fishing for friends compliments. We're just curious,
Oh yeah. Oh, one thing I forgot about, what brought this whole conversation on is actually like this billboard.
Oh gosh. Did you just take a picture? of?
I don't live in SF, so no, but I have the
Oh,
picture in
okay.
Slack. Um, it's, finally personalization scale, ask your developer. So, um, that's kind of what spurred a lot of this discussion is like, what does it mean to have personalization at scale? Like, what is that? What does that look like? So yeah, if any of you live in the Bay Area and you're driving down the one of those highways and you see it, think of us or don't. I don't know.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I promise we are not all synchronized. Alex, do you want to? I'm putting you on the spot, but
Yeah,
Domin Twilio devs drop in OpenAI real time API blog posts. Let's see. Do you want to check out the link?
yeah, for sure. Let me pull that up. So yeah, real
We could.
time. We got some stuff going on here, which we're gonna talk about in just a minute.
We will.
Um,
Yeah, we'll just. Okay, so we'll have that. We don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to
but
pull it up
we can
at the moment. Let's
I'll
see what
pull it
they're.
up now just so we see it there. Yeah, real this happened oh no, it happened today. I saw 2 minutes. I was like, is this 2 minutes ago we did this? Um
We're
this happened
so on time.
today. Written by a bunch of people that I've worked with and really appreciate. Brandon's a great PM, Paul's our like main editor. But yeah, we there's some stuff. I'm gonna wait until our guest comes on to really dive into that further because I don't know that much about it. I'm just gonna be honest. Like I wasn't
That's
part of
real.
the team.
That's honest. Self-awareness is key. Okay, so
Yeah.
since we've been talking about this guest so much, I
Yeah.
wonder if we can like just invite the guest.
It's our dear friend Emily who hi Emily. You look like
Hello.
you're calling in from the SF office.
Indeed, I am. I am here.
Yay.
It's a remarkably hot day in San Francisco today. I think you're gonna laugh, but I think it's about 80 degrees right now, which
Oh,
is
wow.
82 indeed, in fact. So I had to escape my house and find some air conditioning in the
That's
office.
honest. That's honest. Yeah, SF doesn't believe in central air at
No,
all. I learned the
and
hard way.
and most of the time you don't need it. It's like, it's like a nice 65 most
Yeah.
days, but yeah, every now and then we get a hot day.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's real. We are very excited. We've been talking about you all
Yeah.
stream. Well, not all stream, but a good.
It's all we've talked about. This entire stream has been
I've been
the
blushing all
mystery. We
day.
haven't said who you are or who's coming, but we said we
Yeah.
were having one. Yeah, so Emily was on our team. Emily's the inspiration for me doing things like improv. So thank you, Emily. And then, she really helped us grow into like both Bianca and I into like the presenters and like how we did this and how we are doing webinars and all that stuff and ran a lot of those programs. And now Emily is on the Emerging Technologies and Innovation team, which is the team that builds this AI assistance. And yeah, I know we've got a few things to talk about, but like, what's going on with OpenAI? What did we just announce today?
Yeah, a very exciting day. I've been following the updates as well as you all because I did not I wasn't able to attend today, so I wasn't there live. But yeah, basically, OpenAI announced as one of their many announcements today was the real-time API, which includes a speech-to-speech API, which means essentially there's no, if you think about the way you might have done this before, you would have taken speech, transcribed it to text, fed that into a model. The model would have responded in text, and then you would have done text to voice back, right? So it's not exactly the same as the ability to feed speech directly and have the model respond with speech. And so that's part of the real-time API that they launched today. And as part of that, Twilio, as a provider of voice calls, which is so relevant for something like a speech-to-speech model, launched a bunch of awesome integration techniques for building voice calls with OpenAI as the model powering your LLM on the back end, and Twilio supporting the voice call. And so they even did a live demo on stage, which I have seen some video of. It was very cool. OpenAI does live demos very well, I will say. Big props to them on that.
Nice.
And it was cool to see somebody take a phone call in real time and have a conversation with the model about delivering. In this case, it was some chocolate-covered strawberries.
Yeah, I tried to do that demo a year ago, last Halloween, and it was okay. But I'm really excited to rebuild that, whole bot with like I think it's gonna just be a few lines of code. Like that's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the big thing that unlocked this as part of this speech to speech model was like greatly reduced latency, right? So like a
Mhm.
big part of the problem, you have the latency of previously you had the latency of like converting the speech to text and then feeding into the model and the model doing its work and then coming back. And so that built latency on top of the sort of native latency inherent in waiting for
Yeah.
the generative model. But the new models that they're using now, the speech to speech and the real-time API, are built on top of 4.0. And so latency is much lower. And then also the speech to speech decreases that latency overall, which powers the voice call. It's weird if you pick up a phone and have to wait 10
Yeah.
seconds for somebody to respond.
And like I think one of the other hard parts is interruption. And like what is it responding to? Like that was the biggest weird thing. And like when I built the chain, it's like you would say something and then it would wait for your pause and then it would start to respond. But then if you interrupted, it sometimes would stop and sometimes wouldn't. It was like a whole thing. So
Yeah.
like I feel like they figured a lot of that out with the 4.0 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That's so cool. I'm excited.
no, it's very exciting stuff. I always say, I'm like, ETI kidnapped you. They did not kidnap you. We don't, it's not what I really mean, but it just slipped like that. But clearly, if you left us on DevNet, there were reasons in the sense of, there's really an opportunity, I feel like, to connect developers and the kind of AI conversation. So I guess, like, why should just like AI matter to developers, and like what's exciting for you in this kind of new space and role that you're in, and how will you hold a StepNet in your heart on it? JK, but just really focus on the first two questions,
Well,
just kind of the connection.
I will say you're always in my heart, Bianca. You and the whole DevNet.
Wow.
And one of
Thank
the
you.
reasons I did take this role was because I knew I would get to keep working with all of you in many ways. So, they didn't kidnap me. I did go willingly, just for the record.
It's on camera. It's on stream. So it's true. It's true.
But yeah, I mean, they're really good questions. I think that, so what I heard, there's a couple questions there, like, why should developers care about AI? I think it's the type of thing where like there's been a huge change in the industry. There's things that are happening that if you weren't paying attention to, or if you're not engaging with, I think you're falling out of the conversation really quickly. And so just from a kind of relevancy and like stay using the tools that are available to you to like do more or build more, I think is a really smart move for any developer. Just like, when there's a new language developed or a new coding platform, or like, I think it's a new tool. It's a new technology that we can use as a tool. And that's how I really try to think about it. I think it's easy to think of, there are some existential fears for myself and others around like, how does AI impact us as human workers, but I think the way that I found to combat that and to kind of feel good about it is to remind myself that it is a tool. Like somebody still has to use it well in order to kind of get the output that you want. And so there is still a need for people who understand how to use it. And it's kind of like, if you're not making it, like I use ChatGPT and other things probably every day at this point. And I think the ways that it feels like my brain is kind of rewriting some of the pathways of like, how am I going to complete this task? Like previously I might have started from a different place, but now I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to start by getting a paragraph from ChatGPT and then I'm going to like go from there. It's like, it feels like there's just like a new place to start and a new way to go from A to B. So that's kind of my take on like why developers should care. I think it's a tool, and I think it would be it's to your benefit. Let's say I think it's to every developer's benefit to like at least know what's happening and kind of play with the tools and stay up to date and try to understand what's happening. So that's one thing. And I do like, if you're writing code today, it's wild how much it changes the landscape of writing code. Like I don't, I work with people who are building things every day, and it's like, I just talked to somebody yesterday who's like, I'm not writing that much code anymore. I'm just like really writing in natural language most of the time.
Yeah. We because we like, look, this game, we do a lot of demos, and one of the things we figured out really quickly is to do the demos we do, you need to turn off your AI assistant because it just like almost makes it too easy. Like you want to actually show yourself writing some code. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna write the first 3 letters and tab. Oh, I'm done. Like,
wow, it just all happens. So you had mentioned kind of, the developer definitely kind of staying in the loop, right, with how technology is emerging. Alex earlier had kind of brought up the whole like, personalization at scale, right? Billboard. And one thing that comes to mind is like developers feeling like, why do I need to care about the business, right? Like, because when you hear that kind of speak, it's like the business part. I guess I'm just curious kind of your thoughts around like, I don't know, how developers can kind of find that nice balance between like, you're kind of being tasked to solve business challenges. So yeah, what's the balance? How can developers still feel empowered in these business conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we do a disservice sometimes, like myself included, and perhaps more than others, to when I think about like my own career as a product engineer, which is what I did before I came to Twilio. I think I forget that like developers do care about the business in most cases, because that's the job. Like that you're not going to be successful in your job unless you're supporting the business. And like at the end of the day, you're building for users. And I think a lot of developers like have a lot of empathy for users and want to build things that are valuable for the end user, rather than framing that in the like, I want to support the business. But those things are in some ways the same thing, hopefully, right? So I think I just want to like put out a blanket statement. I know developers care about the business. Now, that being said, do I want to be in a conversation where we're talking about ARR and subscription models, and maybe not, and that's okay. That's not part of the job. But I do think thinking about coming back to that, like, how am I serving the end user, and like how am I making somebody else's life better or easier, or in a way that's valuable for that? How am I building something that's helping somebody? And I think framing it that way and thinking about like, I'm here to support my users or customers as a developer. And maybe, I think I think it's very interesting to talk to developers. I also think this is another reason developers should care about AI and kind of a conversation around generative AI and personalization at scale, is because now's a really good time to like develop an opinion and then have an opinion about what it means to do not creepy personalization, right? Or how to think about data privacy, or how to think about engaging with customers and users in an authentic way, even if it's generative AI, or like, what does that mean? I think all of those conversations are being had right now, and like now is the time for developers to get involved. And I know developers care a lot about that. Myself, I do too.
Yeah, if you're not participating in the conversation, then you're not having an impact.
Exactly.
Which is real. So
yeah,
I feel that.
No, I really like that. I think one thing that especially sticks out, which is like, yes, you're talking about the business, but the business is in service for the customers, right? Like it still goes back to the user. It still goes back to the customer. So I think it's like, and if you're building things that support that, like, not getting so caught up on the jargon. And I think we can get caught up on the jargon and forget like the essence of the jargon or the conversation is users, customers, make it better, make it easier. So I think that reminder to continue to simplify.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when we like just broadly thinking about personalization at scale, I think of personalization, I think my immediate thought is around data and customer data. And that obviously is relevant to us at Twilio because of Segment, our customer data platform. But it's not just like the data that you're using. It's not just how or what you're saying to your user. It's also like how you're saying it. Personalization is about what, this is a classic Twilio line, but like, what channel are you talking to your user on? We saw today with the OpenAI stuff that like unlocking the ability to do this over voice adds another channel in which you can say, hey, I'm calling you because you're Emily's mom and you like to talk on the phone, or whoever you are. And then also, it's not just about how you're talking to users. It's like ultimately what you're saying to them. So I think we think of generative AI as a big piece of personalization. There's also like predictive AI, which has been around for so long.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's like I think we take that for granted sometimes, but that's also a type of personalization when you log into Netflix and they're saying like, here's what you might want to watch. That's gotten a lot better, I think, in the
Yeah.
past couple of years, I've noticed.
Agreed.
Or Amazon or wherever, like those types of recommendations. And that's like, I think, that works on me as a consumer. I'm buying things on Instagram all the time because I'm like, yes, I do want that, or whatever.
What's the last thing you bought off Instagram, Emily? Now I need to know.
Good question. It's usually clothes. I think
Yes.
it was like a cozy fall sweatshirt,
That's
which
how they get you. It's
how
the
they get you.
the clothes part too. It's like
Mhm.
you'll like a color, and then they'll be like, "Well, you need 10 red shirts," and I'm like, or purple shirts or whatever, and I'm like, no, but maybe I do. The worst though was just like, I'm like, I don't know who you think you're talking to Instagram. They like started offering me like private jets. I'm like, we're not there yet.
You're
Please.
bougie.
I
You
know.
would do it if you could, right?
But the bougie does not intersect. The bougie has to intersect with the capital. So like the personalization, I see where they were going, but like I
kind of
need
a
it.
swing and a miss.
Yeah.
I always think about the flip side of that, which is how much is the company that sells these private jets making per transaction? So if a single customer to them is worth $10,000, think about the broad net they can do. Like I often think about like the flip side of like, okay, what is this business? I get advertised a lot of like barefoot shoes because that's what I bought recently, and like it sometimes are exciting, or kid stuff. The amount of baby things that I find, and then my trick though is like, don't tell Instagram, but I see it and then I Google it, and then I find it usually for about half the price, not on Instagram.
There you go. It's a good tip.
Yep. See Brent saying, "Hey Brent, do you need another camera?" I think you do.
I mean, why not? So okay. No, this is I really appreciate these like thoughtful answers. I was like, I guess my heart will be okay with you shifting to ETI, if you become empowered, in these ways. So you were mentioning earlier, what's that thing called? Customer memory. I'm kind of curious if are you able to show us some stuff?
Yeah, I will definitely try.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to use my screen share, or do you want to pull up your own? I don't have a demo. I just have AI assistants up.
I can pull up my own. I can try it. We can try to do a live demo here.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Whoa, the pressure.
Let me.
We'll just distract you all with non-distracting things.
On the side.
Yes. Well, did you make the song about? Didn't Robertables ask us to make a song about like Twimble or something?
A Twimble song? Maybe. We'd have to go like to one of the AI generators and make that.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. No. But yes. If anyone wants to create
he wanted to rhyme with Twimblebing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, let's write a Twimblebin and have someone press 1 for shark fin.
Ooh.
I'm glad you wanted us to rhyme with Twimblebin, not Twimmel, because Twimmel. I don't know how you rhyme with Twimmel.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I love how all of our faces, these are the most intense thinking faces. We're all like the collective.
I feel like there's something Twimmel.
But Twimblebin, I think they made it a little easier.
Yeah.
On a painted myself in that corner. Yeah, on a Twilio show. The Twilio show. Special guests, ABE. And let's see. Okay. Did we figure out?
Are you ready for your screen here, Emily?
I'm ready. I'm ready anytime.
Let's see what we
put
got.
me in, coach. That is the one. Great.
There we go.
There we go. Whoops.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So as Bianca mentioned, I recently joined the emerging tech, or I guess I'll accept this at the top. I joined the emerging tech and innovation team at Twilio. I think we were on stream a few months back talking about AI assistants. So I'm sure, hopefully you aren't strangers to it, but this is Twilio's platform for building conversational AI assistants, AI agents. You might also know them as. And it's in developer preview, which means we're kind of still in the process of gathering feedback from users, from developers and iterating very quickly on the product. So that's kind of exciting. But it is available to anybody who has a Twilio account. So if you log into your Twilio console, you'll see AI assistants in the sidebar, or you can search for AI assistants and pin it to your sidebar. So I will show you today a quick demo of an assistant I built. And I called my assistant Schubert because I like a little pun. And Schubert is, in this case, kind of a retail use case, right? I like in the Instagram example, or other retail type scenarios out in the world. If you're on a website and you want to buy something, there's might be a little chatbot or a little place where you could kind of talk to a sales associate or get details about your order, that type of thing. So that's what I wanted to try and build here. And so Schubert is a helpful chatbot for Al Shoes, a national shoe store chain. And what I'm doing here is I'm defining Schubert, my assistant's personality, or kind of system prompt. If you've built other AI agents, it's kind of analogous to that. And this is where I give my assistant general kind of tone, a tone guidance and voice. How should you sound? How should you greet users? And so this is a pretty simple contrived example, but you can see I'm giving it a sense of what it does. It helps the customers choose the right product, place and manage orders, answer questions, so on and so forth. And then I added this, always greet the customer by their first name. Mm-hmm. And the way that I've powered this greeting by first name is using this feature called customer memory, which is what I mentioned earlier to you all. And customer memory is powered by Twilio Segment. So essentially Segment is that customer data platform where you're collecting, cleaning, and using, activating data from every digital touch point you have with a user or with a customer. So that's like on your web app or your mobile app, or through support channels, say. So that's all aggregated in Segment, and then you can send it out to other places like your data warehouse, or other downstream destinations. I'm not a data. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
What are those two, personalization versus perception?
I'm glad you asked. So there are two sort of features of customer memory, and you can think of them as the out and the in, or like if you want to think of a little flywheel with two arrows, there's like the out and the in. And so the personalization engine essentially pulls data from Segment and uses data that you already have about your customer to personalize the conversation. So that's where I'm able to say, greet the customer by the first name. And I'll show you a demo of this in just a second. It can pull data if we have data about this customer, if we've interacted with them anywhere else. It can pull that data and say, hey, Emily, how's it going? And then the perception engine takes the conversation that you're having with the customer on this, through this chatbot or on this platform, and is able to pull out and infer, we say infer interesting traits about your customer from that conversation and save them back to Segment. So that you'll see in a second, that might be things like, hey, I'm training for a marathon and I need a pair of sneakers. And so my perception engine would say, oh, this person is a runner. And so it would be able to kind of add that data to my Segment profile.
Yeah, the first time I was doing the demo with this stuff, I had to turn the perception engine off, because you can't repeat a demo with perception engine because it'll already know stuff about you that you like. I wanted to show telling the AI. It's pretty wild how it pulls out. And the other thing that I like about the personalization engine is it doesn't just expose everything. It's using RAG, retrieval augmented generation, to like pull the right relevant stuff out of the Segment profile, because Segment profile can be pretty big. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, excellent call outs. Okay, so maybe I can come back to the other things if there's time.
We already talked about them earlier, so
perfect, easy.
Good.
Okay.
Tools. Do you have this hooked up to tools? Any APIs?
I do. Yeah, I can give you a real quick.
Can you just show what that looks like? Because I didn't get to like show fully like what the interface there is.
Yeah, so these are the tools I have configured right now for this, for Schubert. So there's fetch order, which essentially pulls data from our external, in this case, it's a kind of a dummy endpoint, but in your real retail scenario, this would be your kind of order management system. So it pulls details about a customer's order. Place order is a post request that creates an order. And then I've been experimenting with this discount code to kind of like, is there a way my shoe bot Schubert can also kind of sell a little, can it be a seller? So I haven't. That
Can
one's
you,
pretty nascent.
if you do the little burger menu on the right, does it show the like interface? Like, can you edit them?
Yeah. So if we
Cool.
look
I
at this
just
one,
like seeing how the
here,
schema is. That one doesn't have schema,
yeah,
but the other ones do.
show you
Like
this one.
how little you have to define. You literally
Hmm.
just say like, hey, it takes these things, these are the data structures, and this is like roughly what they do in human language, and then it figures the rest out. I love it.
Yeah, and this is like roughly JSON schema essentially, so it follows
Yeah.
the same structure, but it actually feeds this whole text block into the prompt essentially. So it feeds this, including these comments. So like you can use any part of this to help your model or help your assistant understand what's happening. Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's the tool schema, and then let's pop over to the simulator. And I do have
The
just,
fun
you can
part.
see I have a couple pieces of knowledge. I have my product inventory in here as knowledge right now. Realistically, that would probably be a tool where you'd fetch real-time product inventory data. I'm working on building that. So currently it's just a text file. And then frequently asked questions is, you know,
Which goes
exactly
back
what
to
it
a
sounds like.
point I had earlier, which is hopefully you're scraping your own website, because that's where the useful information is, and not be a little weird if you're like scraping Nike on your owl shoe store.
Yeah. I have open here also segment. So this is what the segment application looks like. And this is the profile explorer. So this is where I can kind of see.
We're still on the create a new chat.
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
You
Here
might
we
have
go.
shared your tab.
There you go.
But
Does that?
nope, still on it. Sorry. There we go.
No, we're there. We're there.
Okay. Okay, great. So I also have segment open, and I'll try to go back and forth here. But this essentially has data about. Oh, we've even got you in there, Alex. These are all dummy profiles or Twilions.
That's not my real email. Sweet.
So we've got some things that that we can pull from these profiles, and the way you identify a user, and we'll try this Alexandra Walker character.
You're not
you
gonna
can
try
see
me?
Oh,
just in case it has my real info in there. That's a good idea, actually.
Well, yeah, I doubt it does, but we'll stick with this. These are all profiles I've already used. We do have some. Okay, we'll try John Mitchell. Example. Oops. My connection here is a little slow. Okay, so John Mitchell. So you can see this is some data I already have about John Mitchell. Again, this is all dummy data. But this is what I'll be able to start with. And the way that I identify, or the way that assistants identify somebody in Segment, is using something like an email or a phone number as an identifier. So you can imagine you might have that already in your system for if they've logged in or if they've placed an order with you before. And so we will use that. And the way I do this in the simulator is I tell it I want to be chatting with this user identity. So we'll start with Kevin Powell here. Or Kevin, John, what did we say?
John Mitchell's email.
John Mitchell.
Powell.
Okay, great. And we'll jump back to my simulator.
Cool.
Okay. So I have placed that email, kevinpowell@example.net, as my user identity. And now we'll get started. So I'm chatting, I'm John in this scenario. So I'll say, hey, I want to buy some shoes. It's funny to feel how forced a conversation is for me when I've done 20 of them in a day. Okay, great. So you can see it's already using this personalization engine. And that's where it pulled the data that it had from Segment that it thinks might be relevant to this conversation. So we're already in business. And it greeted me. It said, hey, John, I'd be happy to help you find the perfect pair of shoes. Do I have a brand or size? And what it's doing here is at every step, it's going to check and say like, hey, is there anything interesting I can infer about this person? Not much to go on yet, so no. And as John, I will say, yeah, Nikes are my favorite shoe brand. And I'm a size 11. That's a normal size.
I do also like
it's a human size, yeah.
Yeah, as you kind of even the whole like hi John from earlier, because you had mentioned that, you'd mentioned make sure you respond with the user's first name. So kind of even that aspect of just like, how you tweaked it for your needs. So yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so we did, that exactly what you said, Bianca, like I have that greet the user by their first name. Excuse me, but you could also include something like use as many personal details as you have, or I don't know. That might not be. You can tell
that
I'm
might
not
be weird.
I'm not
That
a
was
sales
that's one of the
woman.
things with demos. It's like, how do you make sure that this isn't too weird?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I think striking that balance, that's where like that kind of prompt engineering and just like you actually do have to understand humans and the system to kind of understand what works there. So I think that's still a valuable part of our jobs.
Hmm.
So you can see it checked my product inventory and it looked for Nike shoes size 11. We only have one type available in size 11. So, oh, great choice, John, validating me. How nice. And has provided me this option. And now we'll see for inferred traits, which is that perception engine where it's pulling data from the conversation. It's been able to infer that my favorite I said it, but it's inferred that my favorite shoe brand is Nike's and that my shoe size is 11. And in fact, we can, if I jump back over to segment, I will share this tab again. And we should be able to see that now in real time on my segment profile, I have all this data available to me. And so that real time piece is actually pretty powerful. It's like, I think we take that for granted in web development a lot, but in the data world, it turns out real time data synchronization and things like that is pretty rare. So
the cool thing about this is like if John then goes and calls and he's like, gosh, I just need to talk to somebody, and it's a real agent, they won't need to be like, oh, what's your shoe size? Oh, are you looking for Nike or Adidas? Like it's there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's and that's the beauty of like a centralized data source, right?
The other thing too, I like that you're kind of reminding folks, which is like data can be helpful. And I think whether it's like folks thinking about things like Segment or a lot of these other like platforms are like the data, but it's like once you get the data organized, like even just that, right? Like it's you're empowered through data versus feeling so overwhelmed by it. So I think even just being able to see like more info does not have to be overwhelming or daunting. So yeah.
RJ's asking about the bold markdown formatting for bold text.
Yeah, good question, or good noticing. So the assistant by default actually loves to use Markdown. I found this to be true with ChatGPT too, like a lot of them. It doesn't get rendered in our simulator right now today. It might in the future, but you can. This is where again that kind of prompt engineering piece comes in. I have not specified anything about the output, but I would, especially if I wanted to say this is the simulator, so this is a text-based conversation. But you could take this and connect it to any channel, including voice and things like that. So if you wanted this to be in voice, you'd want to provide more strict guidelines or strict limitations to your model. And that would happen in the personality prompt where you would define really clearly, like, do not use Markdown, do not use special characters. Sometimes it'll throw emojis in, things like that. Keep it
brief. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna see what happens if I place this order, and it can use my tool. So let's order them. And I think it will ask for my shipping address.
I think it already has, or maybe just confirming.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh no, it is good. It's gonna go ahead and place it. Let's see.
We have the order.
It did. It pulled. So there you go. Nice. It pulled my address already from my segment profile and provided me some details about the order.
Wow, that was
look at that.
That was cool.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Like how many messages did I send there? I sent 3 messages, including a hi. And
in real life, you'd probably want to confirm the order first. But like, it's a great demo. I love it.
Yeah. Right.
Alex, don't burst the demo bubble.
Here's why. Apple still I've tried to change my address for Apple so many times. They still have an old address of mine, and half the time my stuff automatically gets sent. Like I've lost phones because it's automatically sent to an old address. So like I feel it.
But, is there a little trauma there? There's a little,
there is.
Okay.
I had a
shipping
phone get lost and
you had
disappeared.
That's real. Some shipping trauma.
But it's so cool how quick it is and how like, you know, it's so much easier if it's like, hey, is this where you want us to ship it? Like, you know, it's not, hey, put your address in and let me figure it out. It's not fill out this form. You know, do you have a credit card on file? You're good to go. But it's just cool stuff. I love it.
You know what? What does come to mind as you're talking though, which is like, I think with so many things around like scams and things like that, I do wonder if we're going to see a rise in like which companies know me and actually, you know, like actually have the right data for me versus like if every time someone's like, yeah, fill out this random Google Doc, thing with your data because we lost your postal. And I'm like, no, that company knows me. I was like, Best Buy knows me. We're fast friends. So I think, I think having kind of the key information, like kind of having that information already available, super helpful. In terms of just like the custom that experience that can be delivered. But yeah, I don't know. I guess what I was trying to articulate, which is like this aspect of like relationship, like how much you know about me and how you use that properly, like will be a good signifier on like, I don't know, relationships.
Okay.
All good. You're fine.
I actually have a super special surprise. We have another special guest on stream. Everyone say hi to Namira.
Oh my gosh, more guests.
Yeah. This is Namira. She is, I can't decide if she likes this or not, but she's here.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Any thoughts on personalization, Namira?
Namira, what do you think? She's like, just get me the food that I like. She's like, you know where to scratch me.
See?
You're good. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Personalization. Thank you.
See what you did there.
Also personalized because we know like Emily's fostered cats. She enjoys a good.
I do love a cat moment. Yeah.
So
Namira.
this was personalized for Emily. Namira knew that this was a good stream to jump in on.
Amazing. It makes my day whenever there is an animal on screen.
I was at one point recording a video for like, I think the message scheduling video, which I did recorded a few months ago, and the cat was just like in the room, and at one point jumps off my desk. I'm like, did you guys catch that? They're like, you mean the moment that you like jumped startled from your camera because your cat was there? Yeah, we got that. We need to redo it. So being on camera with cats is iffy, but she's being good right now.
That's what keeps it exciting.
It works. I feel like y'all, so it's so cool just like seeing this out in the wilds. A few things. I mean, one thing that comes up is just like, what's the feedback that you're getting, right? Like what are the people saying about the product?
Yeah. It's a great question. So we've already been making improvements to the underlying models and how we kind of use the models and what models we work with. And so we recently launched a thing called AI Constellations, which is essentially our sort of framework for allowing us to launch updates to the models that are powering your assistants. And so the constellations might use one or many different models and make decisions about which model to use for which job. So some models, like smaller models, can be better at certain very specific tasks, right? Or like some models need to have really low latency, and it might not matter if they cost a lot for, say, a voice call, but you might not want to use that for every case, because then you're kind of spending a lot of money for low latency even when you don't need it, like for a channel like email where latency is much less important, right? So AI Constellations allows us to build these constellations of models that we use in different scenarios depending on the task at hand. So that's a really cool one that came out recently. And part of what that powers is actually our ability to integrate with voice. So there's some exciting things coming soon with the voice channel. So right now, today, you can integrate with WhatsApp and SMS and email, all our good and you can use assistants with Studio and with Flex as well. So you can hand off to a human agent, things like that. But coming soon, we'll also have a native voice integration where you can build directly to voice and other things like that. So that's some of the feedback. That's definitely our most requested feature is direct voice integration.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's are we gonna be able to integrate some of this like knowledge source stuff, like all the knowledges and tools and whatnot, with the OpenAI one, or is that gonna take a little while to get there?
Yeah, so that's part of what the team is working on, is kind of building an easier way to connect AI assistants directly to this, like using the speech-to-speech model. So more coming soon. There's nothing immediately available, but more coming soon on that. And I think that will be so powerful to just be able to tap into to build and sort of build the assistant like you just saw me build an assistant like that with those tools and knowledge, but then connect it to a speech-to-speech model would be.
Oh my God,
I can't wait. Yeah. I've seen a few early demos internally, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Excited.
think as soon as we saw that like a few months ago that for first 4.0 demo, that's when I was like, okay, it's not going to be long before you're going to be able to hook this up to a phone call.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely. And a couple other things that we're working on that are coming, that we're hearing from users is like, and this is an interesting one. I think there's like a scale of you give your AI model kind of the capabilities to do things, and then you just let
mm,
it run wild and do things whenever it thinks it needs to. So like the tools,
yeah,
for example, in the world today, it's sort of like your assistant is deciding when to use those tools, and it does a pretty good job most of the time. But you can imagine there are scenarios where you might want your model to always use a tool in a very specific circumstance. And today you can get around that by using prompting. You can tell it to always
mhm,
use the tool in these specific circumstances. But we're just hearing a need for greater control over kind of somewhere in between, yeah, this like a flow chart, right, which you can do
yeah,
today, and giving AI full reign. There's like something in the middle where you say,
yeah,
and I think a term I've heard used is playbook. Like you want to say, hey, here's the general playbook I want you to run, but I
Mhm.
mhm,
also want to give you some agency as an agent to like make some decisions within that playbook.
yeah,
So the product team is thinking a lot about how to build that in a way that makes sense and like still allows you to leverage the power of the AI model in making those decisions, but still gives you a sense of control, especially for things like fintech or healthcare. Like these are the scenarios where you want to have 100%
you
confidence
need
in
it.
certain
Yeah,
scenarios. Yeah.
yeah. We had a question from RJ early on, RJ Pearson, about whether like how do you do testing when things are like non-deterministic, and like you're hitting on that right there, which is like it's really hard to like enforce certain things sometimes, but not all the time. It's just it's this the paradigm of AI of like, well, most of the time it's going to do this thing, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, we're
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you so much, Emily, for jumping on and giving us the demo. We appreciate it. We miss you a little bit, but you're still here for us, so it's
Yeah.
I'm
fine.
still here
Yeah,
anytime.
I
I love
wasn't
yeah,
crying. I wasn't crying. It's just no, yeah, no. Emily's great, and I think ETI couldn't have had a better person. I think the passion
yeah,
that you have for developers is very authentic, very real. So I'm kind of excited to see kind of how you continue to translate that over. And yeah, this was super awesome. Like really getting to see this live and more live a little bit more. And I think even just like that reminder, get out there, play around with the tools, right? Like incorporate it into how you're building. So, and I love how just y'all have a culture of feedback, which is like, let us know how we can improve this for you. And that's been there since day one. So tell a
yeah.
friend to tell a friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emily, always a pleasure. Any closing thoughts for us?
I was going to say thank you again. Thank you both so much. And no, I'm also lurking in all your Slack channels still. So I'm around. I'm here.
oh, I know,
I'm watching.
I've seen it.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
But and for anybody watching, if you want to, I really encourage you to go try AI assistants, especially. But like Bianca said, like get out there, try AI tools, just like get your hands on them. Get messy, like see what happens. And if you want to reach out to the ETI team, the program where we launched this early research and development is called Twilio Alpha, and you can contact the team at, let me confirm the email before I give you a wrong email. Hang on, I had it just a moment ago. Uh, Give me one sec. It is twilioalpha@twilio.com. So you can email us. That's a direct line to the team. We love to hear feedback and questions, and
VIP
all that good stuff.
access. See, wow. You
This
built,
is
you
why you
bring,
got to keep tuning
it's
in.
why you gotta tune into stream.
of
We got
course,
all the
of
goody
course.
emails for you.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Emily, thank you so much for spending time with us. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thanks both. Good to see you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Emily. That was great. Emily
So
does a
good.
good demo. I think her
So
original title at Twilio was demo engineer. She just like
I think so,
made
yeah.
demos.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think just like even just the ability, like all of that happened so quick. So like imagine, with your actual data, like,
Yeah.
come on, come on.
Yeah.
So no, that'll be pretty awesome. No, any thoughts, Alex? Anything to
Um,
add?
I am so anytime there's something that just like removes the complexity, like sure, you could
Mm-hmm.
probably build some of this stuff on your own, or something that's like more specialized if you need. But
Mm-hmm.
like the ability for like how quick it is to build some of these AI tools with AI assistants, I just love anything where, again, like I talked about earlier, where it just like makes it easier to build. It makes my time to build so much faster. I appreciate that, and those are the things that I am happy that we're investing in at Twilio, because I think that was like that's the foundational like
Mm-hmm.
vibe that we had, which is like there's this thing that's complicated, let's make it easy. And I
No,
worked in
and
data centers. I saw what it took to like figure out a carrier stuff and put a cross connect and have a cabinet in this one spot and another spot and hope there's fiber there, and like it's a pain. I've ran
sounds
those physical
sounds
copper wires and those
sounds
fibers. It
sounds
sucks.
chaotic. No,
Um,
yeah, and I
yeah.
think really going back into like the foundational part, also like, developers feeling empowered. Like, we're very early in the game in terms of the like integration into businesses, right? So I think really being able to have a point of view, be able to
Mhm.
build things, have be a part of the conversation, that's pretty huge. So yeah, all good stuff as always, y'all. It is great hanging. Who knows, next week you might find, so Alex and I, we have to do other things that are not stream things, but we'll be live from NYC. Who knows? You might have a live drop game. You might have a guest host. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Just we'll toss something up. But just as always, maybe you can watch past Twilio Devs videos if you don't see us, but try not to miss us too much. But yes, we'll be live in NYC, so we won't. Alex and I won't be here, but who knows what you'll find. We'll leave some stuff for y'all. As always, such a delight. If you
Yeah.
have thoughts, let's keep the conversation going. Send a tweet to, or an X. I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
We have you can comment on a video. You know what
Yeah,
we need, Bianca? We probably need like an A/B testing at Twilio, but like email,
fan mail. It's not
fan
fan mail.
mail,
It's no. It's Stream Friend mail.
stream friends mail. Yeah.
Friend mail, not fan mail. Friend
Yeah.
mail. I like
A
it. Okay.
mailbox. Yeah.
A mail.
And or do we? Because we happily get all of your comments here and get to respond to them live in the moment.
That's true too. So we
Um,
can keep it personal. But yeah,
yeah, maybe
always.
we'll have like a whole mailbag. That'll be a new segment we run.
I see the
That would be
vision.
fun.
I kind of
Yeah.
like it. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Well, always good time hanging with y'all. We will see y'all. Well, we will see y'all at least 2 Tuesdays from
Yeah.
now at 2. But who knows? Who knows what you'll find next week? But stay curious. Thank you as always for hanging with us. See y'all.
Bye.